Hey, it's Dustin. Today I'm going to talk about what you should charge as a beginner freelance writer, how to set your rates, things like that. So basically, I would say when you're starting out, you should charge whatever you can get. So pick an arbitrary rate. There's all kind of calculations that you can do. If you want to make a certain amount per hour, you can work that out into your amount per words. I can do a video for that if you want me to break that down at some point. But basically, just charge something and see if people are willing to pay it. If not, you might have to lower your rates a bit until you find people, and then find that price that they bite at and then go with that for a bit. When you're starting off, it's a bit tougher because you don't have a huge portfolio or the experience to kind of back it up. So you might have to do some less than desirable work when you're starting off just to get your foot in the door and start finding some clients. So I actually started off with Text Broker. I don't think that Contentmills are a terrible idea. A lot of people will recommend against it, but I think it provides a pretty semi-steady way to get some work without having to really pitch or apply. You just log in whenever you want to write, and if there's jobs available that you want to do, you just pick them up and you do them. So that's great. I did find with Contentmills, people kind of dump all the jobs there in the start of the day, and then they dwindle down. So you kind of want to go in. I would check in the morning for sure. Grab like one good job that you're sure that you want to do, and then do that whenever throughout the day. And then if you have time for another one, you can pick up more if other ones get added in the afternoon or whatever. I don't know if it's still that way, but you could only have one job at a time when I was writing on there. So something to keep in mind. Most writers will tell you not to write for 1 to 2 cents a word. There's a lot of like pretentious people in writing forums and subreddits and stuff. They swear they charge like 25 cents per word or like 50 cents a word. I don't know how they do it or where these people get their work from. But I think they're full of shit, basically. But their argument is that it devalues yourself and also writers as a whole when you charge that little. So they think that it's going to affect the whole industry and nobody's going to be able to make any money because all these people are going to be working for 1 or 2 cents a word. And I just don't think that's the fact. There's certain clients that are only willing to pay 1 to 2 cents a word, and then there's clients that know what writing is worth that will pay 5, 10, 15 cents a word. So I don't think that's an issue. They're very different customers. So I disagree with that idea. Basically, I would just write, if you have to write for 2 cents a word for your first 6 months just to get your foot in the door and get some experience, I would do that. Start with that as your baseline, and then you can try and work up and try and do better. During that time, just writing on Contentmills taught me stuff like what H2 and H3 headers are. I would apply for these jobs and they would have descriptions telling you that they wanted you to use these things, and then I had to Google and find out what they are. So it's a good way to kind of get into all the industry lingo and figure out what's going on, as opposed to pitching yourself to some big client and then looking like a fool because you don't know how to even format a blog post. So it's a good way to get started. I would say if you have to write for 2 cents a word for your first 6 months or so, do that. After 6 months, try and work up into like the 2 to 4 cents per word range, I would say. Once you're like an intermediate content writer with some experience, you should be able to apply for 5 or 6 cent per word jobs. And then at that point, you should have a few consistent clients so you don't have to accept anything lower. So I would, once you hit like the 5 cent threshold, I would stay at that and don't take jobs lower. Unless you have no work and you really need the money, then you might have to drop back down to like 3 or 4 cents. But that's about it. I think 5 or 6 cents per word is kind of the sweet spot. It's hard to find consistent work above that, and I find it's a lot more demanding, the clients that you get above that range. So that's kind of like where you want to get in, where you can write quick quality articles that don't need like tons of research and statistics and infographics and stuff put into everything. But you have to kind of decide for yourself if you want lots of consistent cheap work or if you want inconsistent expensive work. So I was talking about earlier, there's those people that claim they make 50 cents or $1 per word, but maybe they only get one article per month, and maybe they go months without anything. You don't know how much work they're putting in behind the scenes if they have to pitch like hundreds of magazines or websites before they get one of those jobs. So personally, I like getting cheap, consistent work. If you can get anything from like the 2 to 5 cent range, I think that's a great place to start off. If you found this helpful, go ahead and subscribe, or if you have any questions about freelance writing, go ahead and leave them below. I'm definitely going to have a lot more videos on this topic in the future. So go ahead and stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next time.